We are going to do our next MongoDB assignment, which is implement aggregation and indexing with suitable examples using MongoDB. So, what is indexing and what is aggregation? Aggregation is just like in MySQL, we discussed aggregation as sum or mean of a thing we group by, and we get the mean, we get the average, we get the first last. Similarly, it is the same for MongoDB as well. Similarly, indexing is just like SQL. You create an index on a specific field. Here the title, like role name, something like that, and using it you can speeden up the process if a specific index is created on, let's say, specific something. As MongoDB is used for large scale databases and has gigs and gigs of data, so indexing would be really beneficial over here. That's why we create an index. I'll also give you the links that I have referred and things that were really beneficial to me when I was doing it on the thing. So first, let's learn about indexing. So indexes support the efficient execution of queries in MongoDB. It improves the search time, improves the efficiency of search time, takes lesser time, however you want to call it, just basically fasten up whatever you're searching. Because if the file is really huge, then you would need to search it much. You would need a lot of time to search for a specific entry. But if there is an index, you can speeden up the process. So there can be many types of indexes. So there are single field indexes. So you're indexing on a single field. You can index on multiple fields, like we used to do on MySQL. Multi-key indexes, geospatial indexes, which is used for getting the geological coordinates and stuff, location-based searches. Text indexes you can put, right, and you can put hashed indexes. So basically, there are types of index as well. So like index properties is like there are three types. So TTL indexes, which is time to live indexes, and these indexes expire after a period of time. Then there are unique indexes, which makes the documents that you search from MongoDB to be unique, and it won't return any duplicate data, reject all documents that have duplicate values, right? And sparse index is which doesn't have an index. The document which doesn't have an index, it won't include in the index that we are making. The index property is this. So index creation can be made in two ways. So we'll try out both ways, or we might not, but there are two ways. So you can use db dot your collection name dot create index, and then pass in a key followed by a colon, 1 or minus 1. 1 or minus 1. 1 is for ascending sorting and minus 1 is for descending sorting. So you can sort on the same index by using the same index in a MongoDB query, but you can either do it by db collection name create index or db collection name ensure index, and the similar key name, your key followed by a colon, 1 or minus 1. So we'll do it obviously. So yes, so there is that. Now there is display indexes. So how do you get indexes? You just write db dot your collection name dot get indexes. Now you can drop an index. So db dot your collection name dot drop index. Very easy. Okay. And then drop index, which index do you want to drop? So you can mention that this is the index that I created and I want to drop that. So index will have a specific name. So yes, I think I'm using a Linux virtual machine. MongoDB has started already. Now what I'm going to do is use and whatever the thing is. So I think so it is the third assessment in the group B. So you use as 3, right? Use as 3 and switch to DB as 3. Now DB dot as 3 dot insert, right? And then you insert some things. So role you insert, this is 1. Insert name, which is like something. So let's say Ram. Let's call it Naveen, maybe, right? Let's have a subject, which is, let's say, OP, right? And let's say there is marks. So let's say what, 78 marks, right? 78. And close, and yes. So you have inserted. Now the other guy, let's say what, 75. This was DSA. Naveen नहीं था इसका नाम. It was let's say it was Anusha. And rule number 2 we have inserted. Now I said this guy got 69 marks. Subject was TOC. Name was Ravi. And it was rule number 3. Similarly, I'll speed up the process by inserting some more.
Insert. Role Ravi हो गया, Veena. Veena name role Veena. Role 4. Role 4 name Veena. Subject C++. Marks 20. 80 marks. Number 5. Right? Number 5. Then see 90 marks. So yeah, Praveen, Geeta, and so I have inserted 6 objects, as you can see. Names are Naveen, Anusha, Ravi, Veena, Praveen, Geeta, and these are the subjects, these are the respective marks, these are the roll numbers. So I have made that. Now we'll do our indexing as well as our
aggregation.
so it's create an index, right? So it's pretty easy. You write DB as you write, as 3 as the database name is, and then you just write create index, and then you write the field. Let's say I want to call it name, the name field, right? And I want to give it an ascending order of names because that is always good, I think. It's created. I think it is created. Now if I go and get indexes, so you can see the second index is name 1. You can see over here the second index is name 1, the name is this, and this is as3. This is your the first index is always ID, which is object ID. You can see this is the index that it makes, which is like basically SR number in a normal index, in a theoretical index that we write on paper. This is our index creation, and we have seen that our index exists, and now we can use our index. Let's say we want to get our record sorted. So db.as3.find, right, dot sort. This is how we used to sort it as seen in the last experiment, but here we just write, we want to do it by name, right, and we have it. And if you can say AGNPRV, so this is done, and this is done much easily because it's on name one, on name using name index one. You can do that, right? You can sort in a descending order by just using -1 over here, and that is the descending order. You can do that, right? Now, if you want to find a specific record, of course, I think so, you guys must know it. So it's this and then name. Because we have made it on name, so I'll search the name Praveen because I want. So I searched and it entered, and then this would be much faster if you would see the difference if it was a 10 gig file or 20 gig file with tons and tons of records, right? Now, you can index with unique. Now, what do you mean by indexing with unique? So let's see. Let's say I want to create an index, right? For this, you write ensure index, right? And then you write this, and then you set unique is true, right? Yes. That's a role. This is like setting up a primary key. It has created automatically. Now let's say we want to enter something, right? Yes. And you see there is an error, duplicate key error. So we have created sort of like a primary key, right? So same couldn't be entered. So that is the use of unique, right? But if there is already a value in which are duplicates, then the index creation may fail, right? So that is the thing. Now we come to aggregation. So this is our thing. We have created an index already. Now we want to do aggregation. Now what is aggregation? And you might say aggregation is like it processes data records, right? Whatever the records are, these records, and then it returns a computed result, right? Just like, let's say we want marks, it will compare all the marks, get the maximum mark, enter, or minimum mark. So it compares all the marks, returns the least one, something like that. So aggregate operation group values from multiple documents together, right? And documents are here, records, you can say, and can perform a variety of operation on the group data. Right? So we use aggregate method for the things. So you can do db.collectionName.aggregate, and then there's an aggregate operation. So the aggregation framework of MongoDB is based on the data processing pipelines, right? So in an aggregate method, what all can you use? You can use sum, you can use average, you can use min, you can use max, you can use first, and you can use last. How do you use it? There are many stages in aggregation because it's just computing the data based on some things, right? So there are a lot of stages, but according to what we are doing right now, there is one stage that that the experiment is meant to be performing, and that is group. So $group is the aggregation operation that we are focusing on in this practical assignment. So it's a little bit complex on the thing. I'll tell you a little bit about the syntax. It's a little bit tricky. So you write db dot as3 just like we write, right? And then you write aggregate, 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 and then you open it, right? Then you this it, right? You have to press a square bracket, then a curly bracket, then you have to write dollar, then you have to write group, right? Then you have to write semicolon, right? Then you have to do this, right? Then you have to write ID, right? And then you have to put semicolon. This is the first part. Now, in the ID section, in between these semicolons, you're gonna write dollar, and the thing that you want to do the aggregation on. Let's say you want to do group on. Let's say we want to be subjects, right? Dollar and then subject, right? We have a subject field over here, as you can see. So we'll write subject over here, right? So I'll also tell an SQL equivalent query, which will let you think, oh, so it's that. And then you want to do marks, right? And what do you want to do is, so it's marks, and then you put semicolon. What do you want to do? So you want minimum in what? In dollar marks field, correct? Yes. And then you enter this, then you again put this for your ID brace, then you put it for the group brace, and then you put the square bracket to end it all up, put this, and there is a literal not terminated before the end of the script. So, okay, we forgot to terminate marks. And I don't know why I put this. Yes, so this should give us correct. So see how much is the minimum in each subject. So the equivalent query is basically, you can write, I won't execute it, select subject, right? Min marks, right? From as3 group by subject, and that is the thing that this is equivalent to what is written above, right? Let's say we want maximum marks, so we just change this to max, and we'll have maximum marks of each subject. So we see that CN has 2, so we'll have 90 over here, and there we had 80, so the minimum marks, and this is the maximum marks, right? Right. Now let's say we want to create average marks, so it's again the same. Let's do it again. Let's write it again for practice. Aggregate, right? And then you open a brace, put a square bracket, put a curly bracket, dollar, write group, semicolon, curly brace, underscore ID, semicolon, which, so I'll want subject, so dollar subject, right? And that is there. Then I want it to on marks. So what do I want to do on marks? I want to do it dollar avg. I want average. Which, on what field do I want average? On dollar marks. So dollar marks. I want average on that. 3 braces are this, I think, and should give me no errors. And there we have an average. Each field, there are not
many things which are there in other subjects, but you can see CN's average is 80 plus 90 by 2, which is 85, and thus we have got CN marks average here. You have that. So there is that. Then there are more too, right? So there is dollar first and dollar last. So what is dollar first? Is basic. It's basically the first document or the first record. So you can write first, and then you'll get this, right? Grouped by subject. So the first record is 80 in the database. What is the first record? And if we want last, then we'll get CN90, and you can see CN80, CN90, because 80 was entered early first and 90 was entered last. So we have that. Right. Now we'll have sum as well. We can have instead of last, we can have sum. No, sorry, sum, not sun. Sum, and then we'll have sum. So Cn has 80 plus 90, which is 170, right? So you can also change it, like instead of marks, you can write count, which we used to do. And sum, let's say we don't want marks, we just want sum, and we write 1, and it should give you the count, right? Now this is a little bit tricky, so this is aggregation, right? You can have many other things in MongoDB. You can sort, but first let me give you a brief examples of the things that you can do with aggregation. In this, we just want the count of Cn. So what we are going to do is aggregate, right? And then instead of group, right? Instead of group first, so okay, group is there. So here will be grouping, it is there, right? But then in front of group, I'll have another which is dollar match. Let's say there are tens of subjects, right? Dollar match, and then you write subject, and then this, and then subject, and which subject we want to. So it's a CN, right? And rewriting it again and fixing some bracket errors, it runs pretty fine. So that's it. And that's all for this lab experiment.